This is a special edition of Late Night Health. I'm Mark Allen. I'm talking with a very interesting character. Okay, his name is Neil Friedman, and you can see him right here. The artwork behind him of that famous artist, legendary artist, was made by his wife, and it's really very pretty stuff. Neil, welcome to Late Night Health.
Thank you, Mark. It's a pleasure to be with you.
You are the president of Circle Plus, which is a heart and blood oxygen wellness monitor. I am wearing mine right now. There's an app that goes with it, and when I checked a few moments ago, my beats per minute were about 60, 62. And my oxygen level was going from 98 to 99. Am I going to live, Doc?
Well, I'm not a doc. That's the first
Yeah.
thing I want to say. But I can tell you from being in the industry and speaking to so many people that you're going to make it, Mark.
All right. Good deal. I'm glad to hear that. Give us a description, an overview of the ring and why you decided to develop it.
Sure. Okay. The Circle Plus, this is our second generation. We started with Circle and now it's Circle Plus. And as Mark showed you, this is what it looks like. And the Circle Plus measures certain metrics, i.e. blood oxygen or SpO2, your heart rate, your finger temperature, your blood pressure, and can do also a 1-lead ECG. Okay. The blood oxygen, the heart rate, and the finger temperature are all continuous. And the word continuous is a very, very important word because today doctors do not want what we call episodic measurements. Episodic measurements are, for example, if you have a blood oxygen device or clip that you bought at Walmart, you might say that you wear on your finger, it gives you a reading, and that's an episodic measurement. That is a one-time reading. It really is not practical or functional for a doctor in his or her evaluation of you because they want to see a trend over time. So everything today is going towards continuous measurements. Okay.
Got it.
And so what happens is that, which I like to share with people, you have the ability, we have several icons on our app. And so let's say you hit our overnight icon. And if you do an overnight test, you might say, with our device, you're going to see a continuous blood oxygen over 12 hours, if you're sleeping 12 hours per se, heart rate, and finger temperature. Now, those metrics are very, very important. Let me explain to you the importance of these metrics and why they're important. But one other thing I want to say is, so you took an overnight test. I also usually tell people that when you wake up in the morning, go to the bathroom, take care of what you have to do, take care of.
Right.
Then go to a quiet spot and take an ECG and blood pressure. And when you have done all those measurements, you might say you're good to go for the day.
Yeah.
Because you really know everything you really need to know about yourself.
Let's take a look at your background. You have a health industry background?
I have a health industry background as a minor and a major in entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Okay. And I've been in the health industry since approximately 2005. I really did something that I really enjoyed quite a bit. I brought a weight loss system into the African American community and did it nationwide. My partner was a pastor here in Los Angeles, and we brought it into the churches of the African American community throughout the United States. And really, I'm a believer in education. My device is an educational device, right? So that what we did was we educated the people about weight and how to approach weight loss, and taught them actually the importance of body fat and hydration versus weight. And everything was on an educational basis. And I taught the pastors, and they ended up leading the flock. And frankly, I got thousands of people off of metformin, and it was a terrific experience for me as an individual.
which is a great thing to get off of metformin.
Absolutely,
It
absolutely.
it's not it, as a layperson, I'm not a doctor either. I've read studies about it, and it's not necessarily a good thing.
Right. And I exited, so just I exited from there and ended up morphing into my business that we have today.
And and let's take a look at that. I mean, there are all kinds of wearable health devices today,
Great.
okay? And they
Mm-hmm.
all connect to an iPhone or an Android.
100%.
There's the watches. Are these good things? I mean, obviously, the
Well, that
watches can not only, they tell time. Uh, you can make phone calls. You can check your emails and
sure.
messages and all that. But from the health standpoint, are they good? Are they accurate?
It's a great question and a great lead-in for me. Thank you. Okay. The reality is the wearable market. When you and I think about the wearable market, first thing we think about is activity. Okay, and they're good activity devices, but you have to understand that the wearable market is really what we call the sensor market. Okay, and the key to sensors is stabilization. Okay, so if you're wearing a watch, guess what? That watch is not stable. Okay, so that the metrics it's delivering are not really accurate. Okay, and so when I differentiate the circle ring in the wearable industry, I do it this way. I say, number one, we're not a watch, right? And we're on the finger. Okay, and those that were on the watch, frankly, are really not capable of monitoring you properly because they move. Okay, matter of fact, some of them claim to do certain things that they can't do. For example, blood oxygen. Okay,
Hmm.
we know, I'm not under confidentiality, so I have no problem telling you. The Apple company called us several months ago because they're claiming to do blood oxygen, but their blood oxygen is every 15 minutes. Our measurement is every second. And also, there's a bone in your wrist which prohibits the nerves to get the proper blood oxygen reading. So, if I can continue in telling you the differentiation
Right.
that's occurred here. So, one, we think of activity when we think of wearables and we think of the wrist.
Yes. I mean,
Now we
you have a step. You have a pedometer built into this as well,
correct,
right?
correct. Yes,
And
we
how
do.
many steps that I take today, and versus how many steps I should have taken in my, at least in my head, and get to that 10,000 steps per day mark. What then
So,
sets this
well,
apart from the
so
watch?
that's when I want to continue there. So then we move to the finger, okay? And I'm sure it's not a competitor, but there's a ring in the marketplace that's been doing exceptionally a lot of advertising. That's the Aura ring, and the Aura ring is a beautiful ring, but again, it's an activity ring. It's not one that should be used for medical grade metrics. Where we separate ourselves is, you might say that I would call them healthy devices, and we're a health device. We're basically like a hospital on the finger, okay? And we deliver real metrics. For example, Aura has a sleep program, and they give you sleep metrics, but they don't give you blood oxygen. Blood oxygen is the key metric for any pulmonologist in monitoring your health.
And let's take a step toward and look at COVID.
Well,
Because of the respiratory uh, 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 effects of COVID, I would think that blood oxygen goes down if you have it.
blood, it's interesting. Again, um, blood oxygen today is the key metric for all of us to be looking at. If I can tell you, 30 years ago, of course, all of us were buying blood pressure machines because hypertension was the thing, and we were all concerned about blood pressure. Not that we shouldn't still be, but
Right.
it was the hot metric. Today, blood oxygen is the key metric, and you're right. Blood oxygen is the first indicator of COVID. When we go back in the history of COVID, there was what we called silent hypoxia, happy hypoxia, or COVID pneumonia. What ended up happening is that COVID was almost like blood clots that got into your lungs.
Right.
And what ended up happening is that you didn't see the effect of it or feel the effect of it, but your blood oxygen actually dropped down between 78 to 82, but you thought your body was acting like you were normal. And the only real indicator of it was blood oxygen.
Interesting.
And I want to also tell you that we made a lot of mistakes, and we all know that in the period that we've gone through in this period, and everybody thought temperature was the key thing. Totally wrong, because temperature came after COVID became an infection inside your system.
Right.
So that you had a period of time where if you had a proper pulse oximeter device where you could have detected it and actually mitigated the problem potentially earlier. And that really takes me to my thing that I'm most passionate about, okay?
All right.
And I must tell you about it, okay? There was an article in the New England Journal of Medicine in December of 2020, and it spoke about non-intended racial discrimination. And in that particular article, it cited that over 10% of African Americans who bought clips, the fingertip clips, you might say, that we buy at our convenient CVS or Walgreens or Walmart, caused those poor individuals to be misdiagnosed.
Wow. Why is that? Because of because of the pigmentation in the skin.
Exactly. Okay.
And that would be about for people of color.
When we talk of pigmentation, this problem goes from Black to Chinese.
So Black, Hispanic, and Chinese.
All the way down, anybody that has any pigmentation, you might say, in a way.
Okay.
So I think, I don't know the exact number, but it's got to be 60 to 70% of our population of the world.
Right.
Okay,
or more.
Or more. And so I want you to know, so that article was written in the New England Journal of Medicine. A week later, the New York Times wrote an article about it. CNN did a piece on it. And then 3 senators in the United States wrote a letter to the FDA, Senator Wyden, Warren, and Booker. And their letter to the FDA was called Non-Intended Racial Discrimination. And the FDA at the time of the letter really didn't have anybody in place that was running it. But what ended up happening is that the gentleman who was at the head of the FDA gave the following quote, if I may read it to you, which is really astonishing. It's William Mizell, and he says, "We agree that individuals with dark pigmentation, particularly if they're relying on oximeters in home, may get false or inaccurate readings, and that's important for them to be aware of." Well, let me tell you something. Nobody was aware of it.
Got it.
And people died because of it.
Wow.
Yeah. And today,
and with the Circle Plus, pigmentation is not an issue.
Right. So let me explain to you that, as you said, pigmentation is not an issue for us. And let me explain to you why. Number one, in the Circle, if you think of a pigmented person, their pigmentation is on this side of their hand.
Right.
On this side of your hand, you're pink, white, yellow, it's much lighter. All of our senses are inside the belly of the ring. So that the sensor is on the non-pigmented side.
Got it.
And we use what is a thing that is called reflective technology, so it's just here. When you have a clip like this, the light is going through both the bottom and the top, so it can't get through.
And you might have pigmentation there.
Exactly. So that everybody's SpO2 read higher than it actually was, and people didn't react to it.
I'm going to go to I'm going to my Circle right now. Mm-hmm. There it is, Circle Plus, and I'm going to tell you my beats per minute have dropped because I'm relaxed, 59, and my SpO2 is 99, and this is accurate. I can also send. Can I send this to my doctor? Let's say I'm a heart patient or a diabetic.
Correct.
Can this information be sent to my doctor? Can it be
Yes,
saved?
yes, yes. What happens is that the information. So let's say you did that overnight test like we talked about, right?
Right.
And then that information actually gets pushed from the ring to the app, and you can send all the information from that app to a caregiver, a loved one, or your physician.
And it works through the cloud.
It works well. In this particular case, I'm just talking an email, but we do
Wow.
have where you can actually do it through the cloud. And today, for example, we have many institutions that use our device, and their information flows into their dashboards through the cloud directly from the ring. Exactly right.
Let's let's talk about the science behind this.
Mhm.
You have other people who you had a vision, is how I see this. You developed the ring. Did you have medical people working with you?
Yes, we actually have. I'm very, very proud to say that Dr. Mayer Krieger of Yale is our chief medical officer of our company. Dr. Krieger is known as the father of sleep. Dr. Krieger actually wrote the book that every pulmonologist or and every medical student for the last 35 years has read about pulmonary and sleep science.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's impressive. Uh,
thank you.
the with the overnight readings, um, uh, does it? Can you? I guess you can see if you get into REM sleep and
Yes, it measures all of your sleep levels. It really what our device is a great screening tool for people that potentially have sleep problems. And
who
actually,
doesn't have sleep problems today? I mean, it's
2 billion people have it, to be honest with you,
wow. That's
worldwide,
That's
right?
that's a lot of people.
And
And
actually,
we've talked to a number of sleep experts over the years,
mhm,
Neil, and to a fault, they say 7 8 hours of sleep a night is required. Yeah, 5.5 6 hours is where I'm at, and they
no,
say that that extra hour and a half or 2 hours can really make a difference.
right.
Can Circle Plus help me understand with medical advice how to get that extra couple of hours of sleep?
Well, it's interesting. People wake up for different reasons when they're sleeping. They think they're short of breath or they're snoring or something like that. And
If you're
I'm like,
snoring, that's the jab in the ribs.
well, correct. That is the jab in the ribs. And it's funny. I love talking to our customers, right? I actually try to be the customer service for a lot of the calls because the interaction is extremely stimulating. It teaches me about my device, and so, for example, I have people that everybody's so concerned about their sleep, like you're talking about, that actually put cameras in their bed, up in their room, and then look at our data, and they determine the position of how they're sleeping so they could figure out how they can get more sleep.
Oh my. I think your next device has to be a pillow. Uh,
You're right.
you're
That's
right.
that's one of the answers, of course. Yes.
Right. I think that would be really helpful. Um, this is really a unique device, and if you're, I say 50 plus, and you're starting to have uh, high blood pressure, diabetes, uh, COVID, and this could be a monitor, an advanced monitor for
Well,
COVID.
you're everything you're saying is exactly what I tell people. First of all, I believe
Well,
we're entering.
I could be a part-time customer service guy then.
Well, there you go. I'm going to
Okay.
ask you to come on board. But the bottom line is, I believe that we're entering into a world of self-monitoring. Okay, and needless to say, this gives you all the metrics for self-monitoring. But also, let me tell you that the largest post-COVID long hauler website is based out of the United Kingdom, and it's called Zoe, and it's monitored by King's College. And they tell post-COVID long hauler people to self-monitor and monitor blood oxygen, heart rate, and temperature. All three things we do.
Just real quick, how do I find? I've got my beats per minute. I've got
Mhm.
my blood oxygen,
Right. Ha-
and I want to. What about my temperature? Is
Okay.
that
The
here?
temp. So let me explain to you. The We have several different icons on the app. You see it there, right? You see
Right.
daytime, you see exercise, you see sleep, you see ECG and BP. So if you go into the sleep mode, which is what I call the overnight mode, it
Right.
records three things. It records the temperature that I just spoke to you about. It records your blood oxygen and your heart rate. So that's where you'd find your temperature.
Listen, Neil, this is fascinating, and as you develop more and more parts to Circle, come on back, and
Perfect.
we'll talk again. Uh, Throughout our conversation, we've had Neil's website up underneath us, and if you want information about Circle, the Circle Plus. Uh, Take a look around. Lots of information. There's studies, and you'll be able to ascertain if this is something that's right for you. Neil, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Mark, it's been a pleasure.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much.
This is Late Night Health. I'm Mark Callen. We'll see you next time. Bye bye for now.
Take care.
And